Well, we should be live. What would be nice? If it didn't come up? Well, that's not true. We need it to work. Well, that's cute.
Yeah, so.
Well, gentlemen, there's made my paperwork up there this morning, and it appeared somebody inadvertently cleaned it up. Well, awesome. Thank you, sir. I figured it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Why? Somebody took all my stuff. But I appreciate that. In the midst of trying to keep things clean. So, in this group this morning, who would like to volunteer? Come up here, get on the camera, and read the 5th-day spirituality class. There's no breach of confidentiality or anything like that, because it's just going to be this group and the other group at North that's going to be able to see you. Go outside or anything like that. It'll take you about a minute. So anybody who wants to volunteer for that. You don't have to. It's not mandatory. One thing that it's going to lead to, I'm going to be talking to the chef. And I'm kidding, of course, you know that, right? They say you are what you eat, right? So he's feeding you way too much chicken, did it? Which is possible. Now, sometimes it's an uncomfortable thing. We're not too sure about it. So nobody has to worry about that. It's fine. We're going to have a good time today. We may do things a little bit different. We may take a break at a different time. Something along those lines, just to break things up. Go out and have a mindfulness walk or something. Say it again? Yeah, it does sound good. It's hard to do though, like we were saying before, the other group over here. It's tough to take the computer and walk around the block with it. I appreciate everybody being in group one time. I appreciate that. Yesterday was a bit chaotic. We wound up with at one point we had 2 people in groups. Everybody was everywhere else. I appreciate you being in group. This is an important part of our treatment. Some of the time, the stuff that we talk about is, I understand can be boring, all of that stuff. But if we can get hold of it, it's gonna help us out a little bit. All right, so it's time to get started. We're still working on spirituality a little bit, and so we're at the end of the week on that. And so we're going to talk about this morning the spirituality in our recovery and what that looks like. Just what it looks like, because a lot of the time, we kind of get this idea that it's some kind of a mystical, weird thing that's going on, and for some people, it winds up being that kind of thing. It's a weird, mystical something that's going on. But that's we're going to look at the practical application of a spirituality in our lives this morning. If I incorporate spirituality into my life and into my recovery, I should be able to see a difference in me. And other people should also be able to see a difference, correct? Should be. So first off, we need to make sure, do our housekeeping stuff. We've got our sign-in sheets so that we can make sure that we're signing in. Make sure that you sign in on the right. Make sure that you sign in on the right thing, the right sheet. Some of us are tapping. Some of us are HHSC. Make sure that you have it on the right one. And make sure that you have your book. See that you have a book. That's good. So we're going to look at this real quickly. We've gone over all of the different levels of where we are spiritually. We're trying to move forward in that. We're trying to get to the end part of this thing in spirituality. And why is it important for us to have spirituality in our life? Balance. Say it again. Balance. Balance. Have a good balance in our life. Clarity. Have some clarity in my mind about where I'm trying to go and what I'm trying to do. Myself, I need guidance, direction. I need someone to be able to tell me this is what I ought to do. And so when I get into my knower, I know that I'm headed in the correct direction. There are several directions that we can go, and I don't want to be going down the wrong path, right? I want to be on the right one. So we went through unfamiliar, unwilling. We just don't care anything about it, to a place of confusion. There's a little something there, but I'm not sure what it is. To a place of tepidity, which means I've got an idea that there is something, but I'm not really involved in it. To confident, I am. I have that firm place of believing. I do know that there's a higher power, and I do know that that higher power cares about me. To a place of being devout. What does devout mean? Anybody got an idea?
Undeniable spiritual beliefs.
Yeah, undeniable spiritual beliefs is what it says. It means I'm sold out. I let y'all know this morning I'm a sold out Christian. I follow the Lord Jesus Christ. Does that mean everybody has to follow after me? No, you can go your own way, but that's who I am. And I'm at this place of devout. I have a clear, undeniable spiritual beliefs that are practiced regularly. Practice those out there. I practice my spirituality on a daily basis, every day. I get up and I get in contact with my higher power every day. During the day, I'm still in contact with my higher power. Going home, I'm going to be in contact with my higher power. Then I go do the corporate things. I go to church on Sunday and on Wednesday just to do the corporate things to get in touch with my higher power with other people. So we do this willingly, and we practice regularly and contribute daily to your overall well-being. You seek spiritual guidance in conjunction with other methods of making decisions. I do have other methods of making decisions. I think about it. God gave me a pretty good mind, and I think about the things that I need to make decisions over. I also ask for input from other people, right? I talk to sponsors, and I talk to sober support people, and I talk to people in my life who care a little bit about me and will direct me in the right directions, lead me, guide me to some places that's going to be better for me because they want things to be better for me. But before I talk to those people, before I do all those other things, I'm going to be in prayer about it. I don't want to. I don't want to go to my higher power after I've exhausted everything else. I want to go to Him first, and then all of these other things can be a part of that. So our goal for today is learn a little bit more about the practicality of spirituality. We've talked all week long about being in contact with a higher power and helping, getting our higher power involved in our recovery so that we can get some of the help we need and all of that kind of stuff. But today, because this is the end of the week, next week we'll be on a different topic, but today we're going to talk about how does that help me practically? Because I've seen some people in recovery who were strong spiritual beings. They were strong Christians, strong Buddhists. They were strong, whatever they were, and they were just strong in their religion, strong in their spiritual connections and all of that stuff, and it helped them a great deal in recovery. I've also seen people who had no spiritual connection at all, and they were in their recovery. But here's the deal. More people I've seen in their recovery have some type of spiritual connection. Here's one thing I want you to get a hold of. I am not telling you that if you get a spiritual connection to a real, true, factual God, that your recovery is done. It's guaranteed after that. I do believe that God can take all this mess away from us, but often He doesn't do that. But still, this is a strong, powerful thing that we've gotten ourselves messed up with. And so it's going to take a whole lot. That's why we have to be on board with spiritual power this morning. And through our recovery, we can't just do it in here. We've got to take that revelation with us. We've got to leave from here and have that in our lives. It's got to be part of our lives. So what's the picture about?
Somebody having a good day.
Everybody having a good day? Yeah, because it says up over it what? One good day. So all I'm asking out of my recovery is one good day. So when is that good day going to happen?
Right now.
It needs to be today. I'm not looking into the future. I'm not waiting on Friday, and today is Friday. I've already had 4 or 5 people, 2 or 3 people, some people say, it's Friday, happy Friday. Hey man, it's Friday. It's the end okay, all right, it's Friday. That's a big deal. But I'm not waiting on Friday to be my good day. I'm not waiting on, 2 years from now to be my good day. I'm not waiting on that, whatever is going, when I get this and when I get that, that's going to be a good day. Today needs to be the day that I tout as my good day, right? So what am I going to do tomorrow morning? I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and do the same thing, because I need to have one good day behind the next good day, right? So after a while, I can look back and I've got 35 good days, or 375 good days, or 10 million good days, and all of that kind of stuff. But I have to start with today, right? So, and look, I do realize this is not the best art that I've made on the board. I do apologize for that, but I do that on purpose. Every now and then I do one that's not all that great. Why is that? So we can lower the price on it so the normal man can afford to buy some of my art. This one is for sale for like $2,500. You know, the one the other day, man, that thing was like $10,000, but this one's a little bit more of that. So here's some of the things we're going to be talking. I know that at North you can't see that very well. Just take my word for it. And I'm going to go over some of those things. So all of the things on the board are things that if we have a higher power, it's not going to guarantee that we're going to do that. Because one of the things that my higher power has given me is free choice. Even though my higher power is going to say, this is what you need to do, I don't have to do that. I can say no, to my detriment. Because if I follow what he's smarter than I am, he knows more about what I need. He knows how to keep me sober. He knows how to keep me where I need to be. And so if I follow him, then I'm going to be in a whole lot better shape than if I decide I'm going to do it my own way today. Right? And so when I want that one good day, it may not be that way if I decide that I'm going to do what I want to do today. Because what do I want to do today? I do want to have a good day, but if I get back in my addiction, what I really want to do, if I'm an addict, what I really want to do is my drugs. That's what we really look. That's what we really want to do. That's what my limbic system keeps telling me, is that I really need to drink. I really need to use this drug. So we've got to counter that some way or other. If we don't have a way to counter that, then we're going to have a real issue, because we're not going to counter. If I don't have an absolute way to counter whatever my limbic system is telling me I need to do, then I'm going to get back involved in that. So that's why we need to get a higher power involved in that, so that we have one more thing, one more bit of ammunition in my pocket, so that I have something I can pull out when my limbic system says, you really want to use. And I've had that issue. Y'all know that I just went into recovery off of sugar. I stopped using sugar on the 22nd of August, and I haven't had any since then. I feel a whole lot better. My sugar's still doing some weird stuff because of carbohydrates and all of that stuff, so I'm working on getting off of those. But I'm off the sugar. Hadn't had any in that period of time, and that's a good thing. I'm in recovery for that. And I look, yesterday. I'm looking. I went to church on Wednesday night. I'm the first one there, and so I made the coffee and all of that stuff. And I opened the freezer on the ice box for some odd reason. There are 3 gallons of ice cream in there. And you know what I did? I pulled them all out and I looked at the cart, and there's some caramel ice cream, and there's some strawberry ice cream, and there's some vanilla ice cream. And what did my limbic system tell me? You want it? My limbic system told me that, hey, one bowl of that won't hurt you. And the fact is, if you got a good sized bowl, you could put a couple of scoops of each one of those in. And you're here an hour early. You could eat that whole thing with a cup of coffee. Ooh, that would be good. And it would be good. And there were some cookies over there too, and there's some cookies down the bottom part of the ice box. You could pull those things out and crumple some of those cookies up in all of that. Ooh, that would be so much good. But that would have put me almost in a coma. But your limbic system, I told you all of those goofy stories to tell you this. That's what your limbic system is going to do to you. When you walk through Walmart and you walk through HEB and you walk through that section that has all the alcohol, the wine and the beer and all of that kind of stuff on it, your limbic system is going to say one drink won't bother you. Yeah, well, hey, you can drink that. Look, they got those little bottles of wine. You could drink one of those little bottles of wine because, after all, you are addicted to PCP. You're addicted to whatever you're addicted to, so you're not addicted to wine. Your limbic system will lie to you, right? Because its whole point try to get you back to your use of drugs or alcohol. So it's going to tell you. So what do?
Fight the craving.
You do fight the craving. Here's the deal. At some point, the craving will overpower you if you still have to fight it, get white-knuckled, and keep working on it like that. So we need to have a higher power. We also need to have get out of our brain fog and do the right thing. And when you're walking to the store, I don't walk down that aisle. I've been sober a minute, but I don't walk down that aisle. Nowadays, I will tell you this too. I don't walk down the cookie aisle. There's a cookie aisle. I don't walk down there, because I don't want to give my limbic system the chance to get to kicking on me, right? I'm not going to the candy store. I'm not going to do that. I have had people tell me that they relapsed. I said, what on earth? They said, well, went to the liquor store. Okay, that's the first problem, right? Went to the liquor store. Why would you go if you're in recovery, what's in the liquor store that would cause you to go into the liquor store? What is it? Nothing. There's nothing in there for us. Nothing in there for us. But I have had people tell me all sorts of different things. I just wanted to see what they have that's new. But you don't need to know that. They have a jar of pickles. I really wanted a pickled pigfoot, and they sell them. I don't care what they sell in there. I don't need to go. That's my limbic system telling me to go in there. I have a guy, and I'm going to tell you, he's still sober, and I am so freaked out about the fact that he's still sober because he's been white knuckling it now for about 4 years, and he still goes to the bar, and he's really, really, really excited about telling you that, because I'm telling him you can't keep going to the bar and stay sober. I've been sober for 4 years. I go to the bar. I said, okay. What are you doing in the bar? Well, I just go there to play pool. Oh, you don't. You can play pool anywhere. Go buy you he makes a lot of money. Go buy you a pool table. You don't have to do that. But we go there because we're keeping that connection. And at some point, this same guy, I don't know this was a group, but I have told the group before that this is the same guy that keeps a bottle of booze in his refrigerator. And I said, man, why on earth would you do that? He said, because I can go open up my refrigerator, look at that bottle of booze, and know where I came from. I said, well, you need to look at it because that's your future as well. That's not only where you came from, Bubba Head, but that's where you're going. Testing ourselves. Look, first off, let me share this. I've already told you more than once, but in this group and in the group at North, there are no dumb people. We're all brilliant. You guys are smart. I've talked to you. I've had some of you in my office. We said our IQs are between 90 and 120. Y'all up there somewhere. You're up there maybe to above that 120 part. You can take that to the bank because I can tell when I talk to somebody where they're level. I can't tell your IQ, but I can tell where your mentality is, right? I can tell that you're capable of doing all of those kinds of things. So when these things come up, we know what we shouldn't do and what we should do, right? We know that. We know that we have no business in the bar. We also know that we have no business testing ourselves. And this is the point I was making. When we test, that's a stupid thing to do. That doesn't mean anybody here's stupid. Just told you weren't. But when we go and we get something like that and test ourselves, we're going to fail that test after a while. right? So we don't need to be testing ourselves. This is another reason we need to have um, a higher power in our life. Sometimes, look, I go to Market Basket, pick up some. Usually, I go in and pick up a little thing of milk or something like that. We don't get a lot of milk because it spoils. We get a little bit of milk if I want to have a little milk with something. And I go in there and get that. And when you go down the back aisle, I don't go down the cookie aisle, but you cannot help but go past the end display. You know, they have it right there where it's at the end of the store, and there's an end display in the front, and there's an end display in the back, and guess what they have on that end display?
Yeah.
They have a Little Debbie snack cakes, all kind of Little Debbie snack cakes, and I've been trying my best to break up with a Little Debbie, you know, but here she is, smiling like, you know, can I eat this, you know? So here's some of the things that we need to do if we're going to be in our recovery. We need to be in our recovery in a real way. We need to do the next right thing. What does that mean? What's it mean?
Right there.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. That's pretty simple. I like the way you said that, doing the right thing when nobody's looking. You also do the right thing when people are looking. We just, you know, when what we talked at some other time about building habits, we need to build into our lives the habit of doing the next right thing. You know, if I think about here's my choices, and I look at this choice that's going to hurt somebody. This choice, somebody's going to get in trouble. If I do this, somebody's going to get hurt. Or if I do this, it's going to make somebody angry. If I do this, it's going to make somebody's feelings hurt. If I do this, somebody may lose something. If I do this, it's not going to work out well for something. Not just for me. I need to get beyond just me, but it's not going to work out for somebody. And if it's not going to work out for somebody, that's not the right choice. Right? That's the wrong choice. And so here's the deal. If I'm going to make the right choice, then if I'm making that, it doesn't make any difference if it's going to make some problems for me. And here's the deal. This is what I'm trying to do. And y'all know that I don't always do it, but I'm going to do the next right thing. You know what happens sometimes when you do the next right thing?
Backfires.
Sometimes, you know, he said it backfires. Sometimes people are not going to like you because you're doing the right thing. You know, sometimes somebody comes to your office or somebody comes to your room and says, look, I'm going to do this. And you say, well, wait a minute. That's not the right thing. You can't do that. You know, that's illegal. That's unethical. That's immoral. You can't do that. They say we're going to do it anyway. What should you do? Say it again. Well, you shouldn't do it. You shouldn't go with them for certain. You're going to tell somebody? I'm going to tell somebody. Let me tell you. Let me share something with you that you may not know about me. I'm a narc.
That's what I say.
I am a narc. If I go back there and find some drugs, alcohol in your bunk area, something like that, yeah, it's going to come out. I'm going to tell because I hate drugs and I hate what they do to your life, and whether you know it or not, you know, the next right thing is to scream it from the housetop, right? There are drugs, alcohol, something. That stuff murders us. That stuff is killing somebody. Look. I've had people go, you're just a narc. I'm not just a narc. I'm one of the best narcs there is. I'm narc on the high level. If I see somebody coming down my road and I know that person's a drug dealer, I'm calling the law on that person. I'm going to narc on that person right now. I'm going to get that done because that's the next right thing to do. And this is the right thing to do. I don't need drugs in my neighborhood, do you? Yeah, are there drugs in your neighborhood?
Everywhere.
Oh yeah. There's drugs in my neighborhood. And why is that? People trying to make money and all of that kind of stuff on your problems and on your addictions and all of that stuff, and we don't want to narc on anybody. So we don't do the next right thing. We make the bad choice and we say, well, and so people die from it. Children get messed up in it. Families are destroyed because of it. Health is all messed up because of it. People are in prison because of it. Because I didn't do the next right thing. Sometimes, look, I'm not really worried about, somebody not liking me because I'm doing the right thing. I'm going to do the right thing.
So anybody knocked on you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've had people knock on me, and look, I hated their guts.
So you didn't take no action?
Sir?
You didn't take action?
That was a long time ago. What did I do? I don't think I did a whole lot about it because I was not in the position to do anything about it. I was in the United States Army and started using pretty heavily. I was using when I went in, and I was using through the whole time that I was there. And finally, somebody said, hey, what that finally led to was me being in treatment in the United States Army. I was in treatment. You think treatment here is restrictive? Try doing it in the military.
So I do have a question. So, due to that situation, you say, but we not. Let's just say, I'm just hypothetical. Why not try to help that person instead of telling to clean?
I get that. Yeah, I get that. He said instead of narking on that person, why not try to get that person some help? What do you think is the easiest, best, quickest way to get that person some help?
It's not to send them to jail.
Yeah, send them to jail, narc on them, get them out of there. Because here's the thing. I'm wanting that person removed from the situation. And let me say this too, that doing the next right thing, that's an extreme situation that I was talking about. There are other things that are less extreme. If you go in here to have lunch today and there's only one roll left and you've had 3, maybe you should not get that last one. That's the next right thing. So look, it doesn't start on trying to clean up your neighborhood from the drugs and the crime and the crap that's in our neighborhoods. It starts with not eating the next roll. Yes, you had something?
Oh, yeah, I just want to ask you, maybe I can answer.
I'll answer anything.
You could elaborate on what you used.
What was I using? I had, used a vodka a lot. I was a big alcoholic, and I got introduced to marijuana when I was in the military. So I used alcohol and marijuana, and my big drug was alcohol. I was an alcoholic to the 9th degree. I mean, I got to the place where I could smell some alcohol, and I would go into a blackout. And y'all know what a blackout is? What's a blackout?
Where you black out, you don't remember anything, it's like you know you're doing it, but you don't see yourself doing it, I guess you could say.
Well, you don't know you're doing it. A blackout is alcoholic or drug-induced amnesia. It's actual amnesia. So you're never, ever, never, ever, ever going to know what you did that day. Some people may come and tell you what you did, and I've had that happen to me, but, that's what they say you did. You don't really know that you did that. Last time I drank, I had a real horrendous car accident, and I flipped my car 6 times. And it's really interesting because it flipped 3 times, and then it popped up over a fence and flipped 3 more times, didn't tear the fence down. When the ambulance came to get me, they life flighted me off, and when the life flight landed out there, but the police, I was out in the middle of a field, but the police and the ambulance and all of that stuff came out there anyway. They tore the fence down. So the fence was torn down and everything, but I didn't do it. But guess who was responsible for it?
You.
Yeah, I'm responsible for that. And look, if the life flight helicopter, if you're ever in an accident, and praise God, that's never going to happen to you. But if you're ever in an accident and they say we're going to have life flight come get you, take off running if you can still move, crawl, whatever you have to do. You could look. They flew me about 20 miles, maybe 50 miles. I don't know. They flew me from somewhere near Anahuac, Texas, to Galveston, Texas. So in the air, that's just a boop, boop, and it was like $700,000. What? Yeah, my God, I could buy the helicopter for that kind of crazy mess. So, you know, and I had some folks, you know, I had some people tell on me because I was coming to work drunk. I was in charge of the TMP motor pool, and I'd go in, and we had a guy there named Mr. Spanmacher, and he would bring me um, a Tucher, and a Tucher is a beer about that tall, and it was in Germany, and it's like 20% alcohol. And then I'd get another one, and then I'd get another one. For lunch, I'd have three, because I told everybody I had a sandwich for lunch. It was a Tucher sandwich, just two Tuchers with a Tucher in the middle, you know. And by the time I got off work, you know, as you walked out my office, there was a sidewalk, and then it went down with some steps, and they had a hand railing there. And if they had not had that hand railing, I would not be able to get out of there. And that happened every day of 7 days a week, and then on Saturdays and Sundays, I was in the bars and all of that stuff. So I had a real tough time. And the treatment in the United States military was tough. It was strict. It was all of you had to be here. You had to do all of that. And it didn't work for me. I got kicked out of it. Go to, you know, they have in Germany, it's cold, and we had these big old green jackets that we wore, and there's a big old pocket right inside them, and I had a Tucher in there with a straw in it, and somehow that's totally against the rules. So, you know, I got kicked out of that. So, but look, doing the next right thing needs to start somewhere at the bottom. Figure out what's the next right thing. What, you know, one thing, and I've heard some people, not here, but I was in a treatment facility where, you know, nobody was doing very well at all. We weren't doing the treatment facility itself. The program wasn't doing very well at all. And so we started to do some investigation to see what's going on. There were 3 or 4 people in there that all they did all day long and all night long was talk about how horrible, terrible, nasty the program was. Is that the right thing? Now, here's the deal. Let me share this with you. Is the program guaranteed to work for everybody here? No. But there may be that one, there may be that 2 that really want the program and they really are getting something out of the program. So I need to not do anything that's going to be detrimental to somebody else. If I'm not really interested in my own recovery, I should not hurt somebody else's recovery. That's the next right thing to do. If it's working for you, brother, okay then. It may not be working for me. Doesn't work for everybody. But it may be working for somebody else. So the next right thing is to let the program work for who it's working for. So I got, you know, all of those little bitty things like that. You know, that I need to make sure somebody else is doing well. You know, the Bible tells us it's God first and others second. And then he comes around to me. So if I can live like that, I'm going to make sure you've got what you need before I've got what I need. You know, that's a really good thing to say. Isn't that hard to do? That's hard to do. If I'm hungry and I go off in there, and I'm going to get hungry today because I didn't bring a lunch, and I go off in there and there's one roll left, guess who I want to have that roll? I want it. I want that roll. My limbic system is screaming, you're starving to death. Am I starving to death? No, I'm not going to. So we can live 4 or 5 days. I went on a fast one time for 40 days. So you can live for quite a while without food. So I'm not starving, but I still want that roll. I'm pretty selfish when it comes to being hungry and being thirsty. But what really, if somebody else comes back there, Mr. Jackson is in there with me, and he said, man, I'd really like to have that roll. If I say, okay, you take that roll, is that doing the next right thing? That's it. You know, that ran through my mind just as you said it. You know, why don't we split that roll? Yeah. You know, we can do. There's some things. That's the next right thing. How about being true to me? Is that one thing that I need to do? Is be true to me?
Yeah.
Yes, I need to be.
That.
Say it again.
You owe yourself that.
Yeah, you owe yourself to be being true to yourself. But you know, I don't know that we all understand what that means. Got something?
Now, others don't come in. You can't be true to yourself. How you gonna be honest with someone else?
Oh, that's true. If you can't be true to yourself, how are you going to be honest with somebody else? I need to be honest with myself, and being true to me means I'm going to make sure that whatever I do is not going to hurt someone else. That's being true to me. If I can be true to me. Now look, I want to tell you this. If I do something that's going to hurt someone else, that's going to be with me for a long, 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 long time. Now, I can remember pulling the trigger a few times. I can remember those things. And they're never going to go away. It's going to stay there with me for the rest of my life. Just because somebody wearing a different uniform, somebody got a different language, somebody's got a different culture, you know, that'll still stay with you the rest of your life. You know, when you close your eyes, you see a face. You know, that'll stay there with you. So being true to me is doing the next right thing. I'm not going to do anything that's going to hurt somebody. And I've been accused of that because in the position I'm in, I have to make decisions. You can't do that. You can't do that. You're going to do this. You know, and I've had people tell me, you're just being a butthead. Not true, because anything that I do is geared to helping you. And maybe not you specifically, but helping whoever I'm dealing with. It's all about that. One of the things that I entertain is when I'm doing something that you think might be detrimental to you, please come to my office, sit down and say, why did you do that? And I'll tell you. You know, that's one of the other things. I told y'all the other day, I'm in recovery from lying. I'm a liar. I don't know about y'all, but I lie. I will lie. I will lie. My wife, you know, she's not able to do the things she used to do, and she makes a thing called that's made out of turkey meat, ground up turkey meat, and she made me a turkey burger the other day. That's the nastiest thing. Yeah, that's just nasty. I love turkey when turkey's turkey, but when you grind it up, it ain't turkey no more. You know, and she put she put onions and she put other stuff in there and try to make it, you know, and then she cooked it way down the way that I like my hamburger, and then she made me a hamburger, put some cheese on it and all of that kind of stuff. I took a bite of that, and I know that ground turkey meat was made from that the thing that's right up over the butthole of the turkey, because it was nasty. So my wife says, "Was it all right?" What I say to my wife?
Yes, it was good.
Oh yeah. I didn't think it could be that good. Yeah. You know, I really did think that it was better than I had imagined, because I imagined it was going to be like toxic waste. But when I bit into it, it tasted a little bit better than toxic waste, you know, but it still tasted like toxic waste. But I lied to her. You know, I lied to her about that because I'm serious, especially at this point in her life. I don't want to hurt her feelings or anything like that. And we will all do that. You know, because like when group is over and all of that kind of stuff, and I go to you guys and I say, hey, was that a good group? And you say, that was the best thing I've ever, I learned a lot from, and you slept through the group, you know, I know you're not telling the truth. We all do that. But I want to stay true to myself, and I want to be honest. And so when something's going on, if somebody's sleeping in the group or something like that, and I call you out for that, that's just being honest. You're not supposed to be doing it. So I'm going to be true for myself. And look, this is another good one. And it says, I am my brother's keeper. Who asked that question? Who?
Cain.
Yeah. You know, Cain killed Abel in the Bible. And God came looking for Abel. Do you think God might have known where Abel was? Of course. He knew that. And he told Cain that. But he asked Cain, hey, where's your brother? Cain, knowing he had croaked his brother, said, am I my brother's keeper? So what's the implied answer to that? Yeah. Yes is the implied answer. I am my brother's keeper. I am supposed to look out for my brother. And a lady came and told us, and I told you about this, she's about to lose all of her land to the taxes. Yeah, I wish that I had the ability to just go pay her taxes. But then I also want to go back and talk to her a little bit and say, why didn't you pay? Because she hadn't paid taxes in 5 years. So why didn't you pay the taxes the first time? When you might have could have done that, you might have had to sell your firstborn child, but you might have could have done that. But now after 5 years you can't pay them. But that's neither here or there. I don't want her to lose her stuff. So I am my brother's keeper. This is why if you have an issue, and let me share this with you. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 of us, 11 of us in here. We all have issues. We all have issues. And because you are my brother, so I need to see if there's something I can do to help that, then I want to be able to do that, right? And when we look at each other, it's not just us in this room, it's every other person on the face of the earth. I had a young lady that was talking to me yesterday, and she was a little upset because she was trying to get a thing done and she couldn't get that thing done. And so, being her keeper, I did everything that I could to make sure that she was able to get that thing that she really wanted to get done. Why? Because it was hyper important to her. It was important to her. And if it's important to you, I want to help you. That's why in this program, we're going to help you. If you need glasses, we'll help you get glasses. You need a place to stay when you leave here, we're going to help you do that. I'm not going to guarantee you anything, but I've got a case manager in there that works for me, and she's magnificent. She's going to find, she'll find you something out there. If there's something to be found, she's going to, when you come in here, when you just got here, sir, and when you came in here, one of the first things that the case manager did and your counselor did, and was began already, immediately, the day you get here, is to find you a place to discharge to safely. Why? We have sold ourselves out to be our brother's keeper. That's what we're doing. So when I ask myself, am I my brother's keeper? I am. I'm my brother's keeper. So if I'm staying true to me, the first thing I have to do is make sure my brother is all right. And I want you to know, Mr. Robert, I just looked at the clock. We still have plenty of time, but I want you to know that I appreciate when we get down to just a couple of minutes, if you let me know. Yeah, I do appreciate that. Let me see. Yeah, thank you. So here's the deal. I am my brother's keeper. Now, the last one that's up here, we have a whole book full of stuff to go through, but the last one up here is telling the truth. Right? When we get to here, not in this place physically, but in this place of getting into our recovery, we have to be honest with ourselves. That's why we get out of denial. And is anybody in here in denial? Anybody think they don't have an issue with drugs and alcohol? Anybody think they can go back out and use again? Here's the deal. We need to get out of denial. And denial is one of the biggest lies we tell to ourselves. We tell ourselves lies all the time. So I have to be honest, and look, it's brutal to be honest with yourself. This is why, I came to the place I'm doing, we're supposed to make a fearless searching inventory of everything that's going with. And so you're supposed to continually do that down through your lifetime, because we hide stuff from ourselves. And so making that fearless moral inventory came up with the realization, I've known it all along, but I'm a liar. I'm a liar. And I don't want to be a liar, so the next time my wife asks me, I'm going to tell her, no, I don't like turkey burger. Now, I can eat a turkey burger. I can survive on a turkey burger. And I want you to know that I really appreciate you keeping me alive with this stinking turkey burger. But if there's anything else in the world that we could eat, let's eat that. Because I don't like that. And if that honesty is going to do what? When I tell her that, guess what's going to happen?
They can change the turkey burgers.
I hope so. She's going to get a little bit upset. She's not going to have a good day that day, perhaps. But maybe we're not going to say, and I'm going to tell him that that's walking out of group is inappropriate. So he's going to get a little something, because if you have to leave group, we should be able to sit through. It's an hour long, as we should be able to sit through group. But if we're not, like full-grown men, if something happens every now and then, we've got. It should be not every day. It should be every now and then. But it's against the rules to just get up and walk out of group, so you get an incident report written up on that. So just don't, at the very least, raise your hand, say, I'm sorry, can't help it, I've got to go, and, try to go. We're going to have a break here in 15 minutes. And, sometimes you can't hold it for 15 minutes. So what does NMW mean?
No matter what.
No matter what. No matter what. If it's going to hurt somebody's feelings, do you tell the truth anyway?
You might, but at least they know you told them the truth.
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, because the benefits outweigh the problems. Okay? Yes.
To me, during the time, it's all about the message for me, about the circumstance. Because if you really don't know this person,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good point. He said it's the judgment call sometimes whether you're going to tell the truth or not, because if you don't even know that person, there might be some things you don't want to tell that person, right? You might not want to be totally honest with that person.
You want to tell him, it's got to be a certain way, time, and place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You got to make sure that it's not going to. Yeah, you got to make sure that it's not going to cause some evil to happen. Because if there's somebody that's hiding in the corner back there somewhere, somebody comes through this door with a pistol in his hand, cocked and ready to go, and says, "Hey, where's so and so?" The truth would be, well, he's hanging right back over there. But should we tell?
No.
Now, at that point, we have to be discerning. We know what we have to do. Now, look, I'm going to tell the truth no matter what. So what that means is I've got to think about what I'm thinking about. I got to think about my thinking. When this guy comes in with the gun and say, I'm looking for so-and-so, I'm going to tell him, hey, this is a treatment facility. We can't tell you anything about anybody here. You get. Yeah. And, okay. All right. I'm standing on my principle.
Best to keep privacy.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing. That's a good plan, too. Just don't say anything. That's an extreme example. I use extreme examples because I like to use extreme examples. I got another example of honesty. I was back in Mississippi. I think I was about 13, 14 years old. A friend of mine came over to the house, and we watched the television together. My mom, we had to take our shoes off when we went into the living room, took our shoes off, and we're laying on the floor watching television. And my mother came in, and she walked around a few minutes, and she said, my God, I think there must have been a rat die under the house or something. It stinks in here. And my friend who had come over with me said, no, ma'am, that's not a rat. That's my feet. My feet just stink like that all the time. Ain't nothing I can do about it. So my mom, she said, okay. And she walked out. I'm sure that embarrassed her a little bit. But my friend was being honest. He was like, okay, sometimes I need, and this is the whole gist of this, sometimes I need to be honest, even when the fallout's not going to be okay with me. Even if something's going to be detrimental to me, as long as I'm not going to die from it, I'm going to tell the truth about it. If you did something that was going to get you in trouble when you tell the truth about it? Absolutely. I am. I'm going to tell the truth because here's the deal. When I tell a lie, and I've told y'all I'm a liar. So when I tell a lie, I have to build other lies to support that lie to keep that lie from being found out.
So I do have a question.
All right?
Just a hypothetical question. You said that so you like the turkey meat. So I thought maybe it would be nice to tell your significant other the truth instead of saying that you did like it. Just
Yes.
I mean, it would be even though it might hurt her or hurt him, their feelings. The truth is the truth.
It is. I like that. The truth is the truth. So it would have been a better thing. He was telling me it would have been a better thing for me to tell my wife the first time she served that nasty stuff to me that I didn't like it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been because, I had something, but what she has done, and in the ensuing years, I have let her know I'm not really a great fan of turkey burgers. I'm not
You really don't like that turkey?
No, I'm not the best. I really don't like chicken. I'll eat chicken, but I'm not a chicken fan. I don't like chicken all of that much. But so when she cooks, she doesn't cook a lot of chicken because I don't like. She loves it, but when she cooks it in a special way. The last few times she made one of those turkey burgers, cooked it way down and barbecued it. And so, I think she just kind of feels like since it's supposed to be really good for you, the fat content is almost nothing, and calories in it are almost nothing. So I'm sure that it is really something that's good for you to eat. It just don't taste good. I don't like it. But she has made it smaller, and she has barbecued it, which does make it a little more palatable. You can eat it, but
I don't know this person. Is she making this turkey burger? Is she making that turkey? I mean, what kind of turkey?
Well, I don't. You see, you don't know.
Is good if you find it from the store.
She gets it from the store. It's already ground up. It's like you get a pound. It's like a pound of hamburger meat. You don't really know where that comes from. And the turkey burger is the same way. I worked for a butcher when I was about 12, 13, something like that, back in Mississippi. And he would make his own hamburger. He had a machine there, was a grinding up machine, and he would make his own hamburger and stuff like that. But he sold it as hamburger, but he would put any kind of meat that was left over, when he was chopping up the meat, he was a butcher, when he was doing that, anything that was left over went into that little grinding machine. Also, week old bread that he couldn't really sell anymore, it went into that as well. So his hamburger meat was probably 20% bread, and all of that kind of stuff. And then at the end of the day, you have to clean that thing out because there's the kind of a meat mush that's left in there. Well, you take that out and you put that in the cooler, and the next day the meat mush goes in. So I almost quit eating hamburger meat because so you don't know what's in it. And look, in his hamburger meat, there were pieces of chicken, pieces of pig, pieces of whatever. So people bought it. I lived in a poor neighborhood, and he had the hamburger meat that you bought that was good hamburger meat and all that. But he also had this other hamburger meat that was a little bit cheaper, and so people would buy that. Way back in those days, what we would do sometimes is go to the store and ask for dog bones. And the dog bones, he'd clean all of the stuff off of there that he could, and then the bones were left, and so he'd just give that to people. And we'd take it home and boil it, and eat it. Because there's always a little bit of something left on there, but there was also, you could put it in. We over there in Mississippi, we use potato. Like over here, we use rice. We didn't have a lot of rice over there. So anyway, telling the truth, no matter what, is a statement that you have to dissect because, like we were talking about, if it's going to cost you your life, y'all have read the big book, and what it says about making amends is what?
when it doesn't harm yourselves or others.
Right. You make amends. We want you to make amends to everybody. You should be wanting to make amends to anybody that you had harmed. But if that's going to, you making amends to them is going to harm them or other people or yourself, don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do whatever you did. Don't do that again, but don't go to try to make amends for that. And an example of that is if, you slept with your brother's wife, don't go talk to it. Don't go try to get amends for that, because that could be, something that's going to hurt people. So we need to make sure that we know what we're doing before we go do all of that stuff. So the no matter what thing is kind of a misnomer, right? Kind of a misnomer, because there are some times, I'm not saying you're going to lie about something, but there are some times you may want to just withhold your thoughts on that. Like Mr. Roberts said, just keep your mouth shut sometimes. Is that hard for anybody? It's not?
It shouldn't be.
It is for me. When I see something, I want to say something. I told you I'm a narc. When I see something, I want to say something. And because when I see something and I say something, something can be done about it. Something
It go
sometimes.
both ways, though, Doc.
Say it again.
It go both ways.
It does?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me what you mean about that.
Well, you said if you see something, you're gonna tell something. So
Yeah.
it's vice versa. It can happen both ways. Somebody may see something you doing.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
So you have to get yourself to that place. And he said it goes both ways, because if I'm going to say something, when I see something, then other people are going to be watching me. And when I do something, they're going to say something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's absolutely the truth. And is that okay?
Yes.
Yes, because that helps me to stick to that place of doing the next right thing. And here's the deal. Let me share this with you. If I'm not doing the next right thing, I want you to call me out on that. Because look, here's the deal. If I'm not doing the next right thing, I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm making a mistake. I've done something that I didn't mean to do. But look, 99 and I do that. Everybody makes a mistake from time to time. But look, I'm very conscious of what I'm doing. So if I'm talking to you and I'm doing something, 99% of the time I'm not making a mistake. Some people get upset because you call them out on bad behavior. I'm gonna do that every time. That's my job. That's what I'm licensed to do. So if you're doing something that's not correct, you can better believe you're going to hear about it. And if you don't like that, stop it and start doing the next right thing. Yeah. Yes, sir. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really I'm not sure you do the right thing just because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But back to what you were saying a while ago, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
Like you say, calling somebody out on something. Call for a simple reason. If that person, okay, it's just like you say if somebody's just been waiting on you to make a slip.
Right.
And then if they call you out on it, they call you out at the wrong time or like in front of somebody in the wrong tone of voice.
Sure.
And then you can't separate yourself. Then you got an issue.
Yeah. Mr. Robert was saying that, if somebody else called you out on something that you're doing, they're going to be watching you really closely. If you're the one who's calling them out all the time, they're going to be watching you really closely. And if they come and call you out, they might do it at the wrong time and all of that kind of stuff. And, and then that's going to hurt your feelings, and you might respond in the wrong way. But let me share this with you. Now, this is not for everybody. I am sold out to doing the next right thing. That doesn't mean I'm going to do the next right thing every time, because sometimes I'm not really sure what the next right thing is. Sometimes I do the wrong thing, but it's because, I made the wrong choice. I'm human. Things happen. So those are the times you need to talk to me about. But now look, just like you said, look right in front of Mr. Farmer, the boss, my boss, anybody else, if I've done something that's wrong, I'm going to give you free reign. Come tell me. You're not going to embarrass me. If I did something wrong, I'll tell you about it. Yes.
I have a question. And say hypothetically speaking, if you were the person sitting there squinting your eyes and yelling at a person, finger in their face, look at me. So how would the person supposed to respond or that situation in front of half of that people?
Yeah, and you know what he was said. How about when somebody's pointing at you and screaming at you and all of that kind of stuff? Um,
In front of a counselor.
in front of a counselor.
Yeah, it's all hypothetical.
Yeah.
So how would that
Well, if it's hypothetical, I'm going to tell you what. We don't usually work in hypothetical. However, that never should happen. That should be called out. I don't know of anybody doing that, and if anybody's doing that, you should tell somebody. You should narc on that person and say, "Hey, that person is doing that." Now, here's the deal. I also need to look and see what did I do to get myself in that situation. There's nobody around here yelling at people. None of these counselors are screaming and yelling at you. Not one. They're not going to do that. That's not what their job is, and they will not keep their job if they're doing it. Okay, so that's not happening. Hypothetically, it could, but it's not going to happen here. Um, the RAs and other people who are working here, that's not what we're here about. We're here for your treatment, which means we're here for your recovery. We're here for your betterment. If that's not happening, if something happens, because look, I'm a human being and I'm capable of snapping at you a little bit. If I do that, you need to come talk to me about it. If there's an issue that you have, if you're coming to group every day late and I address that issue, that's not me snapping at you. That's me doing my job. You're not supposed to be doing that. You know, and if you're sleeping in group and all of that kind of stuff, so you will be addressed. You need to learn that. All right, we're going to take our break. Thank y'all. Good response today. We'll be back in 15 minutes. Make it about 16 after.
The 16 after?
Yeah, let's give ourselves an extra minute. Maybe.
That's better.
That's about it.
Huh?
Guys, I already know what kind of air. So it's got five.
Huh?
What's kind of
The what?
people is? She gonna mix it.
Huh?
You do. Like cooking. Good enough, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, you know I looked at that. I was built in that boat. Oh yeah. She don't have nuts. She don't have nuts. She had it. You know, I feel all this stuff funny. Like it's got that real, man. And how we yesterday I got disrespected and talked to roughly on this right now, Dr. Clark, because of between me and chicken.
And so, but I can't like get in the way of. So if we ask that it's then when there's where from it's okay.
Right, but afterwards, I got reported to Dr. Clark's office, stood up on his finger, and he was very stern. That's not You're not gonna say anything. You need to look at him when he's talking to you and say, I got 2 ears, I can hear him just fine.
But there's No. And, yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's
Well,
okay.
I mean,
Talking about, yeah, you talking about him. Yeah, that's what you talking about. Oh, I got him.
Yes, I it's good. Yes, I have a little bit of I just got too much and everything's separated now. All you have to do is just my evaluation. That's all you have to do. My paper, I have my son to do his own evaluation. So you're gonna go to the top too. I think this. But I have them also do and help them out. And then put them so that. Remember this here? Did you get an email from Diana yesterday? On her shadow with stories? And saying, see, that's one of our things. I'm gonna have Aaron to shadow, somebody she wanna shadow. Oh, Aaron shadow me. What did you say? Once. I remember you telling me that. Alright, Brandy shadow should be. Okay, so Brandy, Aaron and shadow should say, should we, shouldn't go. Aaron shadow. So Aaron and shadow. And we're not saying that. I don't know where Roxy's at. I see the sheet. Okay. And so, I'm gonna send you that, because we just gotta have it outside. Okay. Yeah, I go from there, and I have it, everything sent to y'all about everything. Okay. Mr. Garner.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I speak
Absolutely.
before you start?
She go.
Man.
I already did that.
That's good.
So they want to church house.
There's somebody in here. Please. What's up? Your best friend, I'm ready.
I ain't know that. She makes I ain't know. But I think.
All right, one couple of seconds. We need to be getting back in. Well, hey everybody. We're back in for the most part. We do have a few folks who are making it impossible for us to get donuts over here. Uh, so that's all right. There's a couple of more things I want to. There's some things that, some more things about keeping ourselves connected with our spiritual higher power and all of that stuff that I want to share with you guys real quickly, and then we'll be out of here before you know it. And the weekend is coming up, and it's going to be good. So let me ask you this: what is if I'm doing the next right thing? Then how do I react? When somebody comes and says something to me, or somebody comes and I think Mr. Jackson brought it up. Somebody coming to in a way that's less than respectful. How do I react?
Keeping your composure.
Keep your composure. That's a good point, Mr. Jackson. You had something?
Yes, to answer that question, I would go back to the packet that I signed my name on, and one of the sheets says, under client grievance procedure, either, do the grievance, and either or, it says, you may escalate the initial complaint to the clinical manager, that's you, or director of clinical services, or.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah,
I know that's true, but Miss Rebecca is not the clinical director. Miss Sierra is.
okay, but to answer the question, if it escalated even more, it says, which is all right, under HIPAA, and that being a client of that matter, the Texas Health and Human Services complaint and incident intake, which is in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, and everybody hear what he said? He has the client grievance deal and went through what the client grievance thing is. And if you didn't have an avenue to have a grievance, I wouldn't work here. It's a good thing for you to have. And if you have a grievance against anybody, we will help you fill that out. We're not afraid of grievances, okay? That's just one of those rights that you have. But here, this is how to react. And one of the things that does is take us over to this portion that says respond instead of reacting. Yes, sir.
But most people don't have lawyers, but I do, and my lawyer will handle that type of stuff and those types of stuff.
That's fine. If you want to sue somebody or something, that's fine. But what that is, when you do things like that, is that okay?
Yes, it is.
Yes, that brings more and more and more stuff in your life. And maybe like we were talking about earlier, a lot of the times when I get my feelings hurt or something, even when I'm in the wrong, I want to hurt people back. So that's not the right thing. It's the right thing. If you have a grievable issue, you should be able to grieve that. But to try to hurt somebody else, that's not the right way. And instead of reacting, we should be able to respond. Now, what's the difference between responding and reacting? You want to answer the question, or you want to tell me your lawyer? No.
I'm saying that I've been taught in these classes that we can't control how other people feel, think, reacting.
Well, this is true. We can't control other people's feelings. I'm glad you brought that up. However, when I'm trying to do the next right thing, I'm going to first off, I need to know the difference between reacting and responding. What's the difference?
Reacting is when you're putting action into something and you really haven't really thought about your actions.
Right.
Respond is like almost like a verbal response, but you're also thinking twice before you respond.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. It said reacting is when you just do it right now. You don't think about it. And responding is when I'm going to think about that. Because I'm going to look at the consequences. I'm going to make sure, every action has a reaction. Every action has a consequence. So if I get my feelings hurt and I'm thinking, I'm going to do this. Okay, before I do, and I may do that. That may be the correct way for me to go, but I'm not going to do it just right off. I'm going to go and I'm going to sit down. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to pray about it. And I'm going to let God lead me in that. Because a lot of times we say, yes, I have a higher power, but he doesn't have anything to do with anything that's going on in my life. At that point, I have to reason out, you really don't have a higher power. You are your higher power. And you're going to do everything you can to, make you feel better. And so you are not responding, you're reacting. You're just going and doing that stuff. We need to guard against that. Because usually when I react to something, I haven't thought it out well, then, it just becomes me trying to intimidate other people and stuff like that. So, yes, go ahead.
Real quick. Also, revenge.
Yeah, it's revenge.
Revenge is not really good because it can lead to other things. For an example, y'all know who Machiavelli is?
Yeah.
Machiavelli was a philosopher back in the 1600s, and Tupac looked up to Machiavelli. Tupac was a great rapper, a poetic rapper. He looked up to Machiavelli, and what Machiavelli believed in is if you're going to seek revenge on somebody, you seek it so much to where they don't seek revenge back on you. Means you got to take the person out. Tupac looked up to that person so much. Look where Tupac's now. Look where Tupac is at now. Try to seek revenge on somebody, you got to be careful with that. It can lead to very bad things.
Absolutely. And
I have a question.
Yeah.
Actually, a little elaborate on Mr. Fernandez. Tupac got that from Napoleon.
Machiavelli, he's got a whole new album.
No, I'm not talking about the actual rapper, but he
the
name, the actual. He got that from Napoleon.
Oh yeah, his name.
Well, whoever he got all of that stuff from, that's a truism. It doesn't make any difference where he got the stuff from. But what he said is true. If I'm going to respond, I need to be able to have an outlet. I need to be able to have, if I feel cheated or something, I need to be able to do that. But the next right thing, I'm not going to seek revenge on anybody. That doesn't make sense. And that is not doing the next right thing. Yes, sir.
You recently taught us a few days ago that holding revenge is like a resentment.
Yeah, it is.
And that retardation.
Okay, I don't remember saying it that way. I may have, but revenge is just is the second. Yeah, because revenge is the first cousin to anger, and anger causes your IQ to drop, right? And so once your IQ drops, you get to that place, and you'll do things you really shouldn't do. So we need to guard ourselves against those kinds of things. And so one of the things, if we're going to do the next right thing, we need to be respectful, right? And so if I'm not being respectful, I need to get to a place where I first off understand what respectful is, and then be respectful. Yes, sir.
Also, there's another service on here on the same paper at the bottom. The Office of Quality and Patient Safety.
Okay, well, when group is over, let's you and I meet a little bit, and we'll go over that, and I'll help you get that grievance that you have there lined out and going to where it needs to go. So we'll just do all of that.
I'm fine.
No, well, if you're,
I have an advocate.
say it again.
I have an advocate.
You have an advocate. You have more than one advocate, and you don't realize that. But I'm your advocate, and Miss Sierra up there is your advocate. There's a lot of guys in this room right here are advocates for you. You've got more advocates than you know about. One of the couple of things, respect. So here's what I need to ask myself is, what can I do? If you have an issue going on, what can you do? What can you do? If you feel like somebody has disrespected you, what can you do?
Woosah.
Say it again.
Woosah. Step back, relax, take a deep breath, think about the whole situation as a whole.
How many people enjoy being disrespected? Yeah, I know you're not saying yes. Yeah, that's a good plan. That's a good plan. He said, if I feel disrespected, I'm going to pull somebody. Here's the thing, that if there's something that I feel like it's disrespectful, everything in life should be handled at the lowest level. You shouldn't take it to, the top level immediately, because that's going to get thrown back because you didn't do anything that you were supposed to do. I need to go to the lowest level. And if you're doing something that's I feel is disrespectful for me, I'm going to go to you. And we're going to talk, because you may not have meant to do that at all. 99% of the time, that's not what it is. I was with Miss Rebecca here just a few moments ago, and I don't hear all that well. But she reminded me, because I was looking at, some of the times, and I apologize for this beforehand, but if I'm talking to you and some of the times I'm not looking you in the eye, in the United States, it's a sign of respect to look each other in the eye. That's a sign of respect. So if you're not looking at somebody, when you're talking to them, you're looking out the window, or you're looking down, or you're looking anywhere else, that's a sign of disrespect. One of my issues, a real problem for me, I don't hear well at all. So sometimes I'm looking at your mouth. And so I'm not looking at your eyes, which, can be construed as me disrespecting you. I don't mean to be disrespecting you. I'm trying to hear what you say. And I'm listening, because I can still hear, but not well. And I'm listening, but I'm also watching how your mouth moves, and I get a word or two from that. So if you go to an Asian country like Korea or Japan or something like that, should you look those people in the eye? That's one of the mistakes we make as Americans, because everybody knows that in America, you look each other straight in the eye. In an Asian country, that's not true. They show respect by looking down. So they don't do that. And a lot of people who go there, Americans, will see that, and people from the UK and Canada and Mexico and all of those will see that as disrespect, when it really isn't. That's their culture. So what can I do? I need to get to a place, if I'm doing the next right thing, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then I should be looking at what I can do to help with the situation. A lot of the times, and y'all know this is true, we put everything off on the other person. That's not true. That's not true. So, why do we want to work on spirituality? If I have a higher power, if I have that spirituality in my life, I'm not looking to hurt somebody. I'm not looking to insult you. I'm not looking to cause you any issues. I'm not doing that. I'm looking to help you. If I can't do that, I don't want to fool with you, right? I don't want to get to a place where I'm trying to do something to hurt somebody else. So, that's why we need to get spirituality in our life. And the biggest deal is to have spirituality in my life so that I can deal with who? Me. Me. I'm going to tell you, and y'all have heard this 1,000 times before, and I'm hoping everybody gets to this place. I'm 72 years old. I will be November the 2nd. So if y'all planning a party or anything, it's November the 2nd. Gifts are accepted, all of that. But the deal is, I've probably seen most of everything. I don't have a whole lot to prove to anybody, and I don't get intimidated. You know, when I was 30 years old, people could intimidate me because they'd say, I'm going to get your job, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to beat you up, and stuff. And that'd be a little intimidating. At this point, I'm like, you can't intimidate me. Yeah, you know, and that's a good thing, and I'm hoping everybody can get there because one of the things I have spirituality on my side, and God is in my life. So, you know, thing is, if I'm intimidating to anybody, just need to tell me. Yeah, you know, and I'm here because I love you and all of that kind of stuff. But if I'm intimidated, I need to know that, right? And you need to know, and you need to know that quick because you don't intimidate me. So we can talk about those things. But this is another thing. Here's the deal: because spirituality can make the difference between success and failure in recovery. Anybody here not been successful in recovery? Yeah, I've not been successful in recovery. Gone back out there and said, hey, I got this. And before I knew it, it got me. I didn't get it got me. So it can help that. It, therefore, possibly the difference between life and death. You know, our boss man, Mr. Farmer, he has it set up in here so that, you know, in a lot of other places, if you do something, you just get kicked right out of that program. We don't do a lot of kicking people out of our program because Mr. Farmer has said, you know, when somebody comes in, they've relapsed, they've done all of this stuff, you have to believe that you're okay with costing that person their life. Because if we leave from here before it's time and we hadn't gotten a hold of something that's going to help us to get through and get into this recovery and stay in that recovery, it could cost us our life. The next relapse could kill us. Could. So we don't want to do those kinds of things. So it's the key to effective use of Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, other 12-step programs. It's an ever-present subject in most aspects of whole person wellness. So here's the deal. It is a highly important part of our recovery. Having a higher power is not just an add-on. You know, I don't know how often y'all do it, but, you know, we have the bus going, taking people to church and stuff like that. It's not just an add-on to treatment. It is treatment. So that's the thing. If we just stick it in there because it's something that sounds good, it's not going to be much good to it. But if we put spirituality as one of the pillars, one of the high things, it's going to keep me from trying to do things to better me over somebody else. It's also going to keep me from getting to that place where my limbic system can take me and put me somewhere bad. So, there's a couple of things that we need to take a look at. A definition, what's the difference between religion and spirituality? And is there a difference?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Religion is a specific set of rules and a doctrine that's been passed down.
Yeah.
Those are another type of transition, types of rules, things like that. Spirituality is your personal connection with that higher power.
Yeah, and he said that religion most often is a set of rules that are set up for us to use, and we have to go by those rules. And usually they're made by a group of men or women who got together and said, this is what we'd like to see. And, you know, we have to follow those rules. We have to be there on time. We have to do all of those kinds of things. Whereas spirituality is a personal one-on-one thing with you and a higher power. Can you find spirituality in religion? Yeah, you can find spirituality. There's a lot of spirituality in certain religions, but you can also find spirituality. I find spirituality out here. I'm glad they moved our table out under the tree. That's a real spiritual spot out there. You know, you can go out there and sit out there and commune with God all the time. Right? A lot of that time, when we turn inward and we're trying to do something inward, then our higher power will help us get to that place, unless that place where we've turned inward is trying to hurt other people. So if I'm trying to hurt somebody else, that's not what God is all about. So, and that's not spiritual on any level. But sitting here just watching the squirrels run up and down the trees, it can be a spiritual experience. Has anybody been able to see the room that we built back here? I'm going to talk to him and see when we can do that. We have a therapy room. You've seen it. Yeah, and it's just the whole wall there is covered with televisions, and it takes you to a real spiritual place. You can sit in there and watch the water running and watch the trees moving, and it just sends you to a really good place. We're going to put one up over at North here. That's the next place that we're going to get all of that started. But the definition of spirituality is a connection with a power higher than ourselves. So that's a good thing. It's not necessarily religion. It can be, but it's not necessary. Mr. Jackson, you had something else? Okay. All right. So religion is a specific set of program of practices and rituals. Whatever those rituals are. I pastor a little church, and we have rituals over there. We meet every Sunday at 9:30 is Sunday school, 10:30 is church, and then we have worship service, and then preaching service, and then what we do afterwards and all that type of stuff. Sometimes we have a little something to eat and all of that. But these rituals are based on a belief in a specific divine or superhuman power, and usually practiced through membership in a specific human organization, usually called a church or a temple or a mosque or a synagogue or something. That's what religion can be seen as. And we know that in that religion you can find some spirituality. A similar definition for spirituality, on the other hand, sounds like this. Spirituality is based on these things. Moral aspects of your life. Being a moral person. I'm going to tell you something. If we ever got to the place, and look, very few people, and I'm the top one of those people, ever do the next right thing every time. Right? This morning I'm coming on the way to work. I was coming the back way, taking some little old back roads and stuff, and I had a guy in a huge pickup truck pulled up behind me with his bright lights on, and was right there. I know if I'd hit my brakes, he'd have driven up my tailpipe. He's right there. So, that was and instead of saying, talking to my higher power and saying, just help this guy get through. I did pray for him after he went around me at one point. But when that first happened, I'm thinking, why can't his tires all blow out or something? I was judging this guy pretty harshly. But he finally went around me, and I was able to get back to that place of doing the next right thing. And I was attempting to be at that place of doing the next right thing, because the little road I was going down is called England Road, and the speed limit is 45 miles per hour there. I was going 45 miles per hour there. And he wanted, obviously, to go a little faster than that. So he right up on my tail with his bright lights on and all that kind of stuff. And so that was something. Moral aspects of life on what is doing the next right thing. So that's what spirituality is about. If I am trying to follow a higher power, I'm going to be working at doing the next right thing. And so I'm going to have to sit down, and here's what's sometimes a little bit difficult. I'm going to have to sit down and figure out what is the next right thing. Sometimes I'm doing the next thing, and I think it's the right thing. It's not. How do you figure out what the next right thing is?
Pray about it.
Pray about it. Talk to your higher power about it. Now that assumes you have a higher power.
try and think about the long-term consequences.
Think about the long-term consequences of what's about to go on. Yeah, all of those things. I think too. Talk to other people. Look, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think about that? But this is what people you trust, your friends and your family and stuff like that, go and say, look, I'm going to sell my car because of this or what, or that. We talk about that. So when we're thinking about doing something, we need to make sure that they believe that's the next right thing too, because I could be confused. Sometimes I do stuff and people come talk to me about it, and honestly, I thought that was the next right thing to do. Turned out to be maybe not so in that person's life. So I got one of those things going on right now. I have a thing that I am going to do. I'm going to do it. But, I'm still praying about it, thinking about it. And I've already talked to 3 or 4 people about it. And so far, they're telling me that's the next right thing to do. And so we're going to do that. But I'm thinking, but I'm still praying about it. So spirituality focused on that, doing what is right. What will help us to become the best people that we are capable of being? What's the Army's motto today? Be all you can be. Be all you can be. To be the best you can be. Is this when I do these things, are those things that's going to make other people want to be around me? Do you do something that makes people not to be around you? I do some things that make people not want to be around me. Make people not. There are certain people don't want to be around me. It's okay with me because I'm trying to do the next right thing. I want to get to be the best person I am capable of being. Right? And here's the deal. We have to do those things without fear. You need to take a look, see what your motives are. Right? If I know what my motives are, I'm not worried about any reaction that I might get from anybody. If I'm coming to tell you, you have halitosis, would that be a good thing? Everybody know what halitosis is? Bad breath. Bad breath. Is it a good thing for me to go tell somebody they have halitosis?
Not straight out. Not just like that.
Man, your breath stinks. I've had people tell me that. And, I was a little bit appreciative of it, although it also was a little bit embarrassing and all of that kind of stuff. So, but I'm thinking if that person is going to be in public all day long, then I need to share with them that, your breath isn't just about right. So what did I do? And I've had that happen. What did I do?
Yeah.
I offered them a breath mint. I went up to a young lady. I said, here's a couple of breath mint. And what do people ask you when you tell them that here's a couple of breath mint? Yeah. Oh, do I need one? So what do you do then?
Yep.
Doing the next right thing. You're trying to tell the truth. Yes, ma'am. Your breath is. I don't want you to go out like that. Here, have a couple of breath mint. So it's still being honest and it's doing the next right thing. But sometimes it's But that person could take that. And this young lady said, "Oh well, thank you." And she took the breath mint. She popped it in her mouth, and she wasn't embarrassed the rest of the day or insulting other people and all of that kind of stuff. But there are people who won't take that well. Those are, they're small-minded people. Their spirituality is on a very low level and stuff like that. And immediately they're going to get mad at you and do all of those kinds of things. Is it okay to continue to do what you believe is the next right thing? You have to do that. And let them react the way that they want to react because a lot of times people are incapable of responding. All they know how to do is react. If you give them a little bit of time, however, they can learn. It's a learned experience to be able to respond instead of react. We need to do that. So this is a good thing. We could say it this way, that religion is a system people created to try to achieve spirituality. We can think of spirituality as water and religion as a bottle, a container to hold water, but other containers can hold water as well. Some other bottles contain other things instead of water. You know, an alcohol bottle is going to hold alcohol. It doesn't, I guess you can put water in it after you got it emptied out, but that alcohol in there is going to have something in it that's not going to lead to a good place in your spirituality, right? We need to know that. So, at this point, the definition of religion also describes our 12-step program in some instances, right? We have rules and we have regulations that you have to go through. We have things that you have to, do. You need to be at the group. You need to come to the group. You need to speak in the group. You need to identify yourself in the group. You need to be able to tell when you got sober. You need to get your chips, and you need to, you need to have your birthdays there and all of this kind of stuff. Those birthdays are really hard for me. We had a birthday at the thing, and they had a cake that was probably as big as that table. Guy had like a 25-year chip, and oh my God. That's hard for me on two different levels. I mean, not only am I in recovery from alcohol and drugs, I'm in recovery from sugar. And here's this guy, and everybody's getting a chunk of the cake, and immediately some young lady pops here's a plate full of death. Would you like it? Of course I would like it, but So, so the 12-step has a bunch of stuff. It seems to be a specific system of practices and rituals. It's practiced through membership and in a specific organization. So if you've ever thought that AA, NA, or some other 12-step program seems to resemble a religion, it does, right? So is that problematic for us going? A lot of people it is. Because there's a lot of people that we talk to that have an issue about going to AA, NA, or anything like that because it has that God reference in it. That it has a higher power reference in it. So what do you do about that? Well, a bunch of years back, AA and NA and all of those guys said, well, it doesn't have to be our God. It can be a God of your understanding. So you can use the doorknob. I know lots of people who use the group because the group is more powerful. We need to think that there's somebody that's more powerful than us. Is the group more powerful than us? Absolutely. The group, we started out with about 12 people, but we're cutting them down so people are going to therapy and stuff. But there's more of you than there are of me, so the group is more powerful than me. Right? What's problematic about that? The 12 step says that I have made the decision to turn my life and my will over to my higher power, right? And if you're my higher power, you're going to take my car keys and my house keys, everything like that. So, what differences do you see between 12-step groups, recovery practices, and religion? What are the differences between those 12-step groups and religion or spirituality? One of the things that we know is that my AA group and my NA group have a singular purpose. What's their purpose?
Stop drinking.
What did Brother Bill there said? Drunks get sober. Addicts get clean. That's the major focus of that. You go into a religion, and those focuses can be more spread out. They can go in different directions. We have one of our main focuses is to worship and praise the God of the universe. The other is to get other people into that place of worship and praise, and to help people in the neighborhood and all. There's all sorts of things like that. It's a little bit different in spirituality. You can find spirituality in 12-step programs. 6 of the steps are blatantly about God, and so we can find God in that. But there are still differences about that, or between those things. So the key differences between 12-step groups, recovery practices, and religions. Our religion has a definite, specific definition of God. My God is the Lord Jesus Christ. It's specific. A religion offers specific ways to understand God and may insist that no other way is correct. That's where I am. I believe that Jesus Christ is God, and that's all there is. Does that make me perfect? Nah. That make me perfect. I'm a sinner saved by grace. 12-step programs ask you to think in terms of a higher power greater than yourself, and then just leaves it up to you to decide what that power is and how it works. I have talked to a young man that said, I am God. You are? Yeah, I am my own God. Okay, good luck with that there. Good luck with that. That's going to be neat. We'll see that, And in the 12-step, ask you to just somebody and see how that works for you. We have authority in the church, while a religion almost always has a formal hierarchy and structure of people in charge. In the church, you have pastors, bishops, elders, deacons, all of those people in charges of different things. In the temple and in the mosque and all of those places, you have the imams and you have somebody else that's in charge doing something. In religion, you're going to have. And it's almost impossible to do something with religiosity without somebody in charge and without somebody showing us how to do those things. But the 12-step, nobody's in charge. Who's the most important person in the 12-step meeting?
Me.
Who?
Myself.
Yourself? I think that's a really good answer. I was thinking that the chick that makes the coffee, or the guy that makes the coffee, we do it on a rotating basis. There's that's one of the most important people in it. We have a big old pot that talks about that. They make that thing and we'll empty it. That's what it's for. I have never, and I don't know, maybe you have, but I have never been to an AA meeting where there wasn't a huge pot of coffee. And the coffee's always free. How do you say it again?
Except at the West End is above the cup.
Where is it?
West End, dear Lord.
West End. I was about to say I've never been to a meeting where the coffee wasn't free except once. I went, it wasn't West End. I went to $1 a cup. Good God! I went to the 24 group. 24 groups in Austin. They're my away group. When I have to go to Austin, I go to the 24 group, and they charge a quarter for their coffee. And I went in there the first time I saw that, and I went to get a cup of coffee, and I picked up a cup, and I was about to get my coffee, and I noticed a sign that said 25 cents a cup. That's not right. That's not kosher on any level. And so I set the cup down and was headed back to my seat, and there's a young lady sitting right there. A lady sitting there, and she put a quarter on the table for me. She thought I didn't have a quarter, and so she put a quarter on the table for me. So I got me a cup of coffee, and I put her quarter in the thing. But in our group, we pass around a basket, and that's how we fund the AA groups. Whatever donation is put in that basket. What's the donations for? Light, rent, water. Coffee,
donuts.
coffee, donuts, sugar, cream. There's shit now. If you're in a situation where they don't put enough in there, what happens? If you don't put enough money in that pot, then you don't buy coffee. You don't have coffee. We have had people bring coffee from home. Bring a pound of coffee or a 5-pound thing of coffee, and that's fine if you want to make that donation. But it's just by donations. You can't charge anything, and so I did not. I didn't like that at all. So nobody's in charge. There's no chain of command. Decisions are made by the group through a vote called group conscience. Still, other recovery practices call for you to engage in deep thought, meditation, and prayer with no specific instructions or parameters. In other words, there's no right way to be at one with your thoughts. Y'all have heard of Celebrate Recovery? So Celebrate Recovery, when is that?
Thursday night.
What is it?
Thursday night at 1-2.
What is it?
Acknowledging your achievement.
Celebrate Recovery is a Christian AA NA group. It does the same thing, has a sponsor, but we call them accountability partners. They do the same thing that the other ones do, except there can only be one higher power. We teach the higher power, but we teach that Jesus is the higher power. And no one else, nothing else. No doorknobs, no groups, no nothing like that. So, and membership requirements, religions can restrict their memberships in many ways. And we do. Our church really doesn't restrict a membership. The only really requirement for a membership is that you have accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior. You can come down, tell us that. We'll baptize you. We'll put you into the church. You can come from another church of like faith that believes that, and you can just join our church and stuff like that. But you can be, some of these places are by birth, heritage, or obedience to the rules. 12-step program, the third tradition says what is required. The only membership requirement is a desire to get sober, to solve the problem that group exists to overcome. I just want to get sober. So, I've had people ask me, well, can I go visit a group? Yeah, just go visit. You don't have to be a member of the group or anything like that. You can just go to any of them in town and go visit. Now, we do have a thing called a closed group. What's a closed group about? I have had people tell me, well, they have a closed group over there. Okay. What's that about? No, we don't have any private. What is it?
Just remember, it's not outside.
Well, it's just for people who want to get sober. If you want to get sober, you can go to a closed meeting. Go to a closed meeting, say, hey, I need to get sober. Okay, come on. Open meetings, you can come just to look. You don't have to want to get sober. You just come to see what's going on. If I might want to do this, maybe I don't want to do this. This is some crazy mess. So we're going to have to quit. But really quickly, here's the deal. This is going back to the definition of spirituality. How you think that paying attention to the moral aspects of life and what is right could help you solve the problems facing you with alcohol, drugs, and other addictive behaviors. Doing what is right affects you, your family, sobriety as a whole. So it's important. Yes?
Can I ask you a question quickly?
I wish you would.
It's a personal question.
Yes.
How many churches have you been to in your whole life? Like, how many different churches?
How many different religions?
Churches that you've been to. Like, have you always been a Christian your whole entire life?
No.
You've never been
No.
to any other church?
I've never been to any other churches. I've always gone to a Christian church, but no, you can't be a Christian your whole life. You have to have that experience with God. And I was out on the job one time and nearly got killed, and the Lord told me, he'd been picking at me anyway, and he said, look, if this hadn't happened, if you had been on that side, you'd be dead. So, and you'd go to hell, so you need to come and see me. And so I went to church the next week and got saved. But I gave my life over to the Lord Jesus, and He saved my immortal soul, filled me with the Holy Spirit. But
like, have you ever experienced like a Jehovah's Witness meeting?
No. I have been to I've been to Pentecostal churches. I've preached at Pentecostal churches. I'm pastoring a Baptist church right now. But there are. I look at situations, and whatever their stance is, makes the decision whether or not I want to go there.
So that boy that said that he has his own God, that's maybe because he's been troubled with different religions and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I'm just defending him.
Yeah. Oh, I understand. There's a lot of we do
God
get
inside you that he listens to.
We do get hurt from religion.